Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are completely leaving behind that calm, harmonious vibe of the High Renaissance. We're plunging headfirst into 17th century Rome. Think drama, think theater. This was a time when art got really intense, political, religious.
That's expressive. So expressive that marble starts acting less like stone and more like, well, like living flood.
Exactly. This is the Baroque era we're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's a fundamental shift, right? It's not just about showing reality anymore.
Not at all. It's about, intentional freedom, fantasy, raw emotion. The goal was really to overwhelm the viewer, to pull you in completely.
And to understand who really built this explosive new world, you've got to look at these two huge figures, these, let's be honest, massive egos shaping Rome's skyline.
Right.
So our focus today, Gian Lorenzo Bernini, the maestro of spectacle, the ultimate showman.
And Francesco Borromini, the geometric rebel. Almost his polar opposite in many ways.
We've got some fantastic source material here covering their lives, their truly groundbreaking work, and of course that famous, intense rivalry between them.
Yeah, it was definitely intense.
So the big question we're trying to tackle is, how did this clash, this tension between Bernini's universal genius, he did everything, and Borromini's deep focused specialization in just architecture?
Yeah.
How did that redefine space and art?
Okay, let's start with Bernini, born 1598. From the get-go, people were calling him the great Michelangelo of his time.
High praise.
Immense praise, and his range was just incredible. Not just a sculptor, though, maybe that's what he's most famous for, but a serious architect, painter, playwright, even designed stage sets. He was that Renaissance ideal of the polymath, but amplified for the 17th century.
And he was totally plugged into the establishment, wasn't he? The ultimate insider, especially with Pope Urban VIII Barberini.
Absolutely central. His art was completely aligned with the Counter-Reformation Church. It wasn't just about making things beautiful. It was propaganda, in a way.
Propaganda? How so?
Well, it was designed to project the church's power, its grandeur, its divine authority onto the world stage. Pure, irresistible spectacle.
Got it. And this whole process, it often started with drawings, right? We can see his versatility even there.
Definitely. His drawing style adapted completely to the task. Like if he was sketching a plan, say, for the Fontana del Moro, it's all quick, energetic pen strokes, fast, synthetic lines capturing the movement.
Just getting the idea down.
Exactly. But then for a presentation drawing, something like the Figura nuda maschile striata, this reclining male nude, it's totally different.
How so?
It's much more pictorial, more painterly. He's thinking about light. He uses softer lines, detailed shading, and adds touches of bianca, that's a white pigment, to show high contrast, that chiaroscuro effect on the skin. He's already visualizing the final sculpture in light and shadow.
That theatrical thinking seems to be there right from the start. Like in those sculptures for Cardinal Scipione Borghese around 1618 to 1625. The Rape of Proserpina, the David.
Oh, absolutely. Bernini understood that the artwork isn't just the object itself, it's the whole experience. For the Borghese pieces, he actually designed the visitor's route through the villa.
Really? He dictated where you'd stand?
Yeah, he controlled the viewing angles, even how the natural light from the windows would hit the sculptures at certain times.
Wow. So it's like immersive theater. You're not just looking at statues. You're moving through this orchestrated space designed to make them feel like living statues.
Precisely. Sensory overload, totally by design.
Okay, perfect example then. Apollo and Daphne. From 1622-25. He picks that one frantic moment from Ovid's Metamorphoses.
The absolute peak of the transformation. Just as Apollo's about to catch her, Daphne starts turning into a laurel tree.
And the detail is just mind-blowing. Her feet are already becoming roots, bark climbing up her legs, fingers and hair sprouting into laurel leaves.
And look at Apollo, that raised leg, the sense of motion mid-stride. He's pushing the marble to its absolute technical limit there. It's incredibly dynamic.
But here's the magic trick for me. The textures. How does he make one block of marble look like skin and bark and rock?
It's all about the surface treatment. He leaves the bark rough, the ground is jagged, but then Daphne's skin, her face, her torso, it's polished to this incredible smoothness.
Ah, so the contrast does the work.
Exactly. That difference in polish creates the chiaroscuro, the play of light and shadow. You almost feel the difference between the soft skin and the rough bark just by looking at it.
This fusion of drama, light, material.
Yeah.
It seems to reach its zenith in the Cornaro Chapel with the Ecstasy of St. Teresa. That's 1647 to 52. It's not just sculpture anymore, is it?
No, it's what the sources call the ultimate marvelous composed, the bel composto. It's a complete fusion. Architecture, painting, sculpture, light, everything working together.
It's pure scenography, pure theater. St. Teresa's floating on this cloud.
A cloud which, interestingly, was originally carved with a deliberately rough texture. Restoration brought that back. It contrasts sharply with the smoothness of the saint to emphasize its otherworldly nature.
And the lighting. It's like a spotlight from heaven.
Total genius. He hid a window, an oculus, up above the altar. It channels natural light down onto the scene, illuminated further by those gilded bronze rays. It literally spotlights the divine moment.
But the real kicker, the thing that dissolves the boundary between art and viewer,
Is the Cornaro family themselves, right? Sculpted in relief on the side walls, sitting in what look like theater boxes.
yeah, they're watching the ecstasy unfold, just like us. It
Yeah.
pulls you, the actual visitor, right into the drama. You become part of the audience within the artwork.
It's incredibly clever. You're witnessing the vision alongside its patrons.
And Teresa herself, that expression, it's so intense. The
Mhm.
sources mention its convulsive and subtly erotic rhythm. Head thrown back, eyes closed. It's a world away from calm Renaissance composure.
He's aiming for a visceral reaction. Counter-Reformation art wanted to make spirituality tangible, make you feel the divine. Bernini achieves that through this intense, sensual spectacle.
It's hard to imagine anyone else operating on this level, this kind of universal mastery, so tied to power, which makes his rival so fascinating.
Exactly. Enter Francesco Borromini, born just a year after Bernini, 1599, dies 1667. And his whole philosophy was different.
How so?
While Bernini did everything, Borromini worked only as an architect. He represents this emerging modern idea of specialization. All his energy, his intellect, and he was deeply intellectual, very influenced by Michelangelo, went into architecture.
So the extroverted, celebrated master of all trades versus the intense, focused, maybe introverted specialist. Sounds like oil and water.
Oh, it was a deeply toxic rivalry. Bernini was apparently quite hostile, and Borromini, known for his difficult temperament, felt Bernini stole credit and cheated him financially.
That sounds incredibly stressful.
It led to this profound sense of isolation for Borromini. It's quite tragic. He apparently called his architectural drawings his own children, and before his suicide, he burned many of them.
Wow, that speaks volumes about the intensity of his focus and maybe his pain. It's interesting then that he was an early adopter of graphite for his drawings.
Yes, like in the studies for the San Ivo lantern, he needed that precision. His focus was on the intellectual structure, the geometry, not necessarily the free-flowing drama Bernini chased.
And that specialization let him do things with architecture that were completely new. Let's talk about San Carlo, alle quattro fontane San Carlino. A tiny church, right?
Tiny site, yes, but what he does with it feels monumental. The key is the plan. It's not a simple circle or square.
It's based on an ellipse.
An ellipse, yeah, but generated through this undulating series of concave and convex curves. The walls seem to ripple, to push and pull. It feels like a pulsating organism. The building itself is generating movement.
So the architecture itself is the main event, not just a container for sculpture.
Precisely. And then you look up at the dome,
Also oval.
also oval, and covered in this intricate coffering, crosses, hexagons, octagons, all in white stucco.
Yeah.
It creates this amazing sculptural effect, drawing your eye upwards. Apparently, visitors couldn't stop looking up and turning around because, as one observer put it, one part calls to the other.
The building is directing your gaze.
Exactly. The architecture is the narrative.
And then he takes that same fluidity outside to the facade, which was built later. It almost looks like it's melting onto the street.
That's pure geometry again, but incredibly complex. The facade follows the curve of a sinusoid.
Okay, what's a sinusoid in this context?
It means it's concave at the ends and bulges out, convex in the center. So the whole front of the church seems to ripple like a plastic membrane that flows like a wave. He's making stone look fluid, unstable almost.
It's fascinating. Both are achieving movement, but in totally different ways. Bernini stages a drama with figures and light.
While Borromini makes the structure itself curve and bend and pulse, it's theater versus mathematics, in a sense.
Okay, let's scale up. They did actually collaborate briefly on one massive project, the Baldacchino, over the main altar in St. Peter's. That's 1624 to 1633.
Right, a huge undertaking. It's mostly seen as Bernini's design, and it is an incredible fusion of sculpture, architecture, and engineering, those giant bronze spiral columns.
The ones with the Barberini bees crawling up them.
And laurel branches and lizards symbolizing resurrection. It's 9 stories high, but somehow it looks slender, proportionate. It really does fill without cluttering that immense space under Michelangelo's dome.
But the lightness, that sense of almost airy canopy, that wasn't Bernini's first idea, was it?
No, apparently Bernini's initial concept involved much heavier masonry arches up top. Borromini, who was working as his assistant then, came up with the design for the scrolls, those sort of dolphin back volutes, holding up the canopy.
Ah, so Borromini's contribution was key to that feeling of lightness.
It seems so. It allowed for a lighter structure overall, avoiding the need for massive supports. A crucial, if often overlooked, contribution to its elegance.
Okay, back to Bernini dominating the Roman scene. Urbanism. He wasn't called the Lord of the Waters for nothing. The Fountain of the Four Rivers in Piazza Navona, 1647 to 51. That's pure spectacle.
Total spectacle. It's this huge allegory of the four known continents through their major rivers: Ganges, Danube, Nile, Rio de la Plata. But the real wow factor is the engineering.
Making that massive Egyptian obelisk look like it's just floating.
Exactly. It rests on supports that are hidden within the structure, directly above the empty space of the grotto underneath. All the drama of the sculpted figures and the water distracts your eye from how it's actually held up. It's a brilliant illusion.
All about hiding the mechanics to maximize the magic. And then there's the St. Peter's Colonnade, 1656-65, that huge embrace.
Commissioned by Pope Alexander VII, Bernini conceived it as these two semicircular arms, a maternal embrace, welcoming everyone, Catholics, Protestants, even non-believers into the church, symbolically powerful. But there's also an amazing optical trick built in.
This is where architecture messes with your perception. Right.
Absolutely. Basic perspective means that if those colonnade arms ran parallel, the enormous facade of St. Peter's Basilica would actually look smaller and further away as you walk towards it.
Okay.
So Bernini designed the arms to actually diverge slightly as they extend from the basilica. They get wider apart.
Why?
To counteract perspective. This deliberate distortion makes the facade seem closer and even more imposing as you approach. It's psychological architecture.
Incredible. But it wasn't all triumphs for Bernini, was it? We have to touch on his big failure, Paris.
Ah, yes. The Louvre project. A rare but spectacular flop for him. He went to Paris. The king wanted him to redesign part of the Louvre Palace. He submitted, I think, 4 different proposals.
And the French.
They hated them. They found his style too Italian, too Baroque, too theatrical. He wanted to add these grand curving wings and mask the existing structure. The French architectural establishment was just not having it.
And apparently he didn't take the criticism well.
No. The sources describe him having hysterics and bursting into tears. He was so used to being revered in Rome. Leaving Paris was apparently a huge relief for him, like escaping a nightmare. It's a good reminder that even the biggest names face rejection.
Definitely. Meanwhile, back in Rome, Borromini is creating arguably his masterpiece of pure intellectual architecture.
Yeah.
Sativo alla Sapienza, 1642-60.
Right, the chapel for the university. The exterior is relatively restrained, but the interior, it's based on this incredibly rigorous geometry.
Not a circle, not an oval.
Yeah.
It comes from a triangle.
An equilateral triangle, yes, but then he transforms it by adding semicircles and curves onto the sides. It creates this complex star-like plan with niches that bulge both inwards and outwards.
So the whole space feels like it's rotating.
Exactly. It forces your eye upwards along these continuous lines, culminating in that amazing spiral lantern on the roof.
The corkscrew.
That's the one. It gives the whole building this powerful sense of vorticose rotation, like it's twisting up into the sky. It's why that writer got it called Borromini, the corkscrew architect. It's pure architectural form creating drama.
And one last, maybe smaller scale, but perfect example of Borromini's mind. The Perspective Gallery at Palazzo Spada, 1652.
The ultimate optical illusion. You look down this colonnade and it seems quite long, leading to a statue at the end.
But it's tiny, right?
It's only about 8 meters, roughly 26 feet long in reality. Borromini creates the illusion of much greater depth using perspective tricks. The floor slopes up, the ceiling slopes down, and the columns get smaller and closer together much faster than they normally would.
It completely fools your brain.
Intentionally falsifying reality through pure architectural manipulation.
Okay, so let's try to wrap this up. Bernini. Sensuous, theatrical, monumental. He directs light, stages narratives, makes marble look like flesh. Total spectacle.
Right, and Borromini. Radical geometry, optical correction, making space itself the subject, making walls curve and pulse, drama through structure, not figures.
Both total revolutionaries, shattering Renaissance norms. But that core difference remains fascinating. Bernini, the universalist, serving the church's goals of spectacle and mass appeal.
While Borromini, the specialist, focusing purely on architectural innovation, manipulating space for its own sake, you could argue he really lays the groundwork for the idea of the modern architect, distinct from the painter or sculptor. He made the building itself the star.
An incredible dynamic. The Lord of the Waters versus the corkscrew architect, battling for the soul of Rome's skyline. So here's something for you to think about. Baroque art wants to overwhelm you, to involve you emotionally. Looking back at these two giants, Bernini's spectacular narrative drama versus Borromini's complex structural poetry, which vision hits you harder, which feels more powerful, more relevant today, the universal showman or the radical specialist?